Without further ado, let me welcome the first speaker, Chen Qian. The talk title is Trigger Finder, a real-time freezing of gate trigger detection system using an instruction-tuned multimodal large language model.
So hello everyone, my name is Chen Tianqi and I'm from William Mary. I'm going to present our paper Trigger Finder, a real-time freezing of gate trigger detection system using an instruction-tuned multimodal large language models. And so our system tries to transform how we help Parkinson's disease patients to maintain their mobility and independence. So here's the hook. What if we could help someone with Parkinson's to navigate their environment confidently, knowing what challenges lie ahead? Let me introduce the background and motivation first. So Parkinson's disease affects millions of patients worldwide, and 60% of these patients experience something called freezing of gait, or FOG for short, which is a sudden temporary inability to move their feet despite their intention to walk. So imagine someone walking normally, then suddenly their feet feel glued to the ground. That's FOG. And it's not just about an increased risk of falling. FOG fundamentally impairs someone's mobility, their independence, and their quality of life. So patients become afraid to leave their homes, like lose confidence in daily activities, and may experience social isolation as a result. However, there is a gap in the solutions of how we help Parkinson's disease patients to manage FOG. So first, all existing solutions are reactive. They only detect freezing episodes after it's already happening. Also, current systems often rely on single modality inputs like vision-based models. We have MU sensor-based models, but we do not have multi-modality inputs, so we can miss the rich environmental context that often triggers FOG. So here's our problem. We have no proactive solutions, and there's no current system that can look at this patient surrounding and say, hey, be careful, there's a trigger head and you may experience a freezing in a minute. However, current advances in multimodality large language models provides us a new opportunity. Multimodal LLMs are excellent in interpreting complex scenarios by integrating visual and textual information together. So this is exactly what we need for understanding the environmental context that contribute to FOG episodes. By adapting these models through instruction prompts, we can tailor their insights to identify and interpret FOG triggers in real-world scenarios. This leads to our research question. Can instruction-tuned multimodal LLMs detect and explain environmental FOG triggers in real time, providing interpretable warnings before freezing occurs? So our system, Trigger Finder, proposed two key solutions. First, we developed an instruction-tuned multimodal LLM that enhances both accuracy and interpretability through instruction tuning. And second, we applied server-side offloading to maintain real-time performance by hosting the inference, the computationally expensive inference on the server, while deliver swift results to the mobile interfaces. Okay, great. So we've made three key contributions. First, we've developed the first real-time FOG trigger detection system, moving from reactive to proactive care. Second, we've achieved strong performance, achieving around 95% accuracy and one F1 score while maintaining good interpretability. Third, we've developed the first benchmark data sets with annotated FOG trigger images, with around 4,500 annotated images now publicly available to advance research in this area. Here's the system overview of Trigger Finder. So the patient wears a mobile device with a camera. Let's think of it as a smartphone. So as the patient moves through their environments, just walking normally, the camera captures images continuously. And these images are transmitted wirelessly to the server, where our instruction-tuned multimodal LLM interprets them, and to analyze them, looking for potential FOG triggers like visual distractions. Once a trigger is detected, the server sends a warning back to the mobile device. We used accelerated inference to maintain a fast enough intervention time to alert the patient before they reach the location of the triggers, and to keep the mobile site lightweight and responsive. So our approach centers around instruction tuning. We trained on examples annotated by the domain experts. And for each training example, we pair it with a real-world image with the expected format, output following our exact format. We built upon the base model MiniCPM v2.6, which is a vision transformer model that handles images and textual prompts at the same time. And here's an example of how we use an example to train the model. So we have the instructions that specify the roles, the tasks, and exactly what triggers we're looking for, and combined with the image input. And our expected outputs are the identified triggers followed by the explanations of why the model thinks there's a trigger present in the image. So we used expert-guided prompts that frames our model as a specialist in domain like environmental trigger detection, and we specified in the what to look for in the image and how to explain their findings. And we iteratively refined it on a validation dataset to improve both accuracy and interpretability. So here is the data collection and characteristics. Our dataset contains a comprehensive real-world scenarios, including 5 different types of FOG triggers. These are the most common triggers that domain experts identified that contribute to FOG. So first, we have floor pattern changes, which are transitions between different surface types, like carpet to concrete, or transitions between different colors on the ground. Then we have tight turns, which are situations that require sharp turns or sharp pivots greater than 90 degrees. Then we have dual tasking, which are situations that require patients to perform multiple activities at the same time, like holding the door while walking. The next is narrow passages, which are confined spaces that create strict spatial constraints. Finally, we have distractions, which are sudden visual elements that could interrupt one's walking patterns, like walking by a lighted Christmas tree and you feel distracted by it. So here's the characteristics of our data set. So we collected data from across 4 different biosphere types, including our William Mary canvas, urban shopping malls, nature areas, and residential neighborhoods. And we collect data, captured images across different times of the day, including different lighting conditions to enable a real-world applicability. Also, each image may contain different numbers or multiple triggers at once. This is also to ensure that our dataset represent the real-world conditions realistically. And we use leave-one out cross-validation across different biosphere types to ensure that our model can generalize well to completely unseen scenarios. And here's our performance. Our model demonstrates strong performance. So in binary trigger detection task, which is to decide whether there's a trigger present in the image or not, we achieved over 95% accuracy and effort score. And in multi-trigger identification task, which is to identify if the specific trigger appear in the image, we also maintain above 90% accuracy and maintain good performance even when the number of triggers in the image increases as the complexity of the task increases. So we outperform state-of-the-art baseline models, including other multimodal LLMs. And in efficiency-wise, we reduce the inference time from 1.86 seconds to 800 milliseconds. This makes it possible for a potential mobile deployment. So here's a case study that shows trigger finder in action. Basically, we deliver a precise, accurate, and evidence-based explanation without false positive compared to other baseline models. So in conclusion, we introduced a instruction-tuned multimodal LMs that enable a shift from reactive to proactive care to help Parkinson's disease patients. We show that domain-specific tuning achieves strong real-world performances, and also our open-source benchmark dataset can support future research in assistive healthcare methodologies. So in future work, we plan to deploy fully on-device inference and to conduct clinical trials with actual Parkinson's patients in long term. And we also plan to expand to additional data modalities, including other sensor types for richer context. Thank you.
Thank you for your great presentation. As I mentioned earlier, if you come later, we are going to save the questions in the end if we have time. So now let's welcome the second speaker, Qilei Chen, and the paper title is Improving Gastrulation Detection with Synthetic Images from Diffusion Models.
Excuse me, I need to switch the monitor. Yeah, switch to my. Yeah. Just present it. Oh, hi everyone. I'm glad to be here to introduce our work, improving gastric lesion detection with synthetic images from diffusion models. This work was done by the combination of great folks from UMass Law and also from the Peking Union Medical College hospitals. And first, let us go through the outlines. Today, I'm gonna give us a background introduction, and then we'll describe the challenge in our research, and also I will give the presentation for the solution, and also after that, I will show you the results and also the visualization results, and then I will give our conclusions. Cancers always be very enemy for our health, because it will cause death. We can see that especially the stomach, especially the gastro cancers. On the other hand, the name stomach cancers. From this table, we can see that the early cancer, if it's localized as early cancer, the 5-year relative survival rate can as high as 75%. But when it upgraded to the distant cancer, such as when the cancer spread to the other part of the body, the survival rate will go down to 7%. So early detection is pretty important for the survival of the people who got the cancer. But on the contrary, the late cancer is easy to diagnose because it's very apparent when the doctor to check the lesion. But for the early cancer, sometimes it's very hard to find it because the parent of it is not so not so detailed sometimes in the on the stomach. So our team want to develop a system that assists the doctor to find the early cancers. The core of the system was focused on a detector, the AI detector for the early cancer detection. So as we all know, if we want to train a good model, a CNN model, the first step is that to collect the data. I think data, especially for private data, when we collect, when we were collecting the data, the strict privacy regulation make it hard. But after all, we made it, and also the data need to be labeled by, annotated by the medical experts, and also when we after we collect the first edition of our data set, we find that the most challenging problem in our research is that the diversity of lesions. Because when we collect the data set, all the data set is from the clinical report. You know, if we directly use the data from the clinical report, the lesion is very clear. But after we train the model, when we adopt the model into the assistant system, we find that the sensitivity is not so high, because in a real situation, usually the lesion is very small and not so detailed enough for the AI to detect it. So when we analyze these challenges, we notice that we need add more data in our data set. But just as the gentleman said, sometimes we can't get such labeled people. We can't get such labeled data. So we think of another way. As we all know, another technique, another technology, the diffusion model was very hot recently. I think this morning Professor Lin from Harvard have introduced diffusion model, the theory of the diffusion model very clearly. It's very amazing, the result of the diffusion model recently. We think of a way to generate more data. First, we want to use our training data set that are already collected in our data set to train a diffusion model that can generate a more synthetic gastric cancers images. And then we want to add these synthetic images into our data set to enhance the performance of the data of the model. The detailed technique, I don't want to introduce more, because I think Professor Lin have introduced it very well. In our research, when we train our data, when we were training our diffusion model, first we think that maybe we can use a previous edition of diffusion model that can generate the whole image. But when we tried that, we found that it's too hard for the model to focus on very small local informations when we want to train, when we want to get a diffusion model that can generate the whole image. So we focus on the local patch of the image. In our pipeline, we first to crop all the lesion parts and use this lesion part to train our diffusion models. And then when we use it, we will use a diffusion model to generate only a patch of the images that contain cancer lesions, and then we will patch it back to the original image. Then a synthetic image will be generated. detail of the training pipeline of synthetic image is just like this. This is a real positive image. This image is from a real patient. We can see that. We can see that this part is early cancer lesions. When we want to train the model, we just crop the part of it and then use noisy to add on this part, and then when the diffusion model denoise the patch, it will give output with less noisy. With these two.
1 minute left. Please wrap up.
Okay. With these two images, we can get loss, and then the loss can feedback to the diffusion model. Then this model can learn how to generate the lesion part. Well, in the inference pipeline, we can see that when we give a negative image without lesions, we just need to annotate where we want to locate the lesion part, where we want located, and then we feed this patch to the diffusion model, and then the model will generate a diffusion synthetic patch. After that, we patch the synthetic part back to the negative image. We can get a very vivid synthetic positive.
Time's up. You can summarize in 1 sentence.
Okay. We do two experience. One experience that for the we show the picture to the doctor, and the doctor it's very interesting. The doctor said that it's very real. Another is a quantitative test. We did an ablation study on several detection models. We found that the synthetic image can enhance the performance at a very considerable level. This is the for the conclusion. I think for this kind of technique, we will try this technique on more fields such as CT or some other field that will help to improve the development of that kind of research. Yeah.
Okay, thank you for your presentation. Now let's welcome the next speaker, and the paper is RPIPS. Is that RPIPS? RPIPS. Respiratory waveform reconstruction using persistent independent particles tracking from video.
Let's see if I can. One second. Join display. Sure. Let's see. So, hi everyone. So, good morning everyone. So, this is Jahid Hassan. I'm a postdoctoral research assistant at University of Maryland, Baltimore County. Today, I'll be presenting our works RPIPS, respiratory waveform reconstruction using persistent independent particle tracking from videos. This research has been conducted in the MPSC lab at University of Maryland, Baltimore County under the supervision of Dr. Nirmal Laray. So, external respiratory refers to the physical process of air exchange between lungs and the environment. This respiratory waveform provides a graphical representation of pressure, airflow, timing, and depth. So, continuous respiratory monitoring is essential for detecting stress, apnea, and extensively used in NICU and even in older adult setting. So typical approach of estimating breathing rate uses subjective visual inspection that requires a person in there, pressure sensing via wearable belts, and emerging technologies like Wi-Fi and video cameras. Our work particularly focuses on estimating respiratory rate using video cameras. So respiratory drive, rhythmic, involuntary diaphragm, and rib movement that causes a micro movement in the pixels level. So during inhalation and exhalation, this process is reversed and causing a oscillatory movement. While existing vision method actually tries to estimate this pixel variation and tries to estimate respiratory rate, however, the full reconstruction of this respiratory rate is still missing. Our objective is to accurately track respiratory induced movement in body component, hence the complete respiratory waveform. So we investigate tracking all point, tap problem, a computer vision problem where the goal is to tracking all these points. So tracking respiratory motion presents a significant challenges than typical setting. Typical tap problem works with the different box. However, we're dealing with a sparse, localized nature of the movement that cause even in a low texture. With signal strength is typically about 5 pixels for a camera that is about 10 feet long, and the respiratory cycle is really slow corresponding to the 30 fps camera. Typically it's 10 to 30 cycles per minute. Using directly existing tap problem actually underperform, as we have experimented with multiple existing tap setting. So here's our key contribution. First, we formulated this respiratory rate as a particle tracking all point problem and investigate the domain specific priors to address the motion, sparse and oscillatory motion problem. Secondly, we introduced a course to find work I will be discussing later. The third, we have developed a RR PIPS model, that is the modified version of existing tracking model, PIPS model, that is specialized for respiratory tracking for RGB, NIR, and IR and NIR setting. Also, we have curated an MPSC RR dataset that contains a large-scale video dataset for any new researcher and for us to develop, and we have actually open sourced our codes and all these model weights to play around. So prior video-based method actually only targets respiratory rate, lacking a critical reconstruction problem. So for motion tracking, we have used multiple domain setting. For example, PIPS++ model has been used for motion tracking in video setting. Optical flow actually can track motion between two frames. The video magnification amplifies small micro movements. Collectively, this lacks integration of this different setting for a consistent particle tracking. Our framework unifies these concepts into a unified respiratory optimized solution. So our approach actually contains 3 stage problems. So first, the course to find framework, where we process input frames using optical flow and motion magnification. Then we find some fine grain point. These points are upscaled for precise particle tracking using our developed RR PIPS model with trajectory aggregation. And finally, in the final stage, we take more fine grained approach for long-term tracking. That in these particular stages, we actually go from lower spatial resolution to higher spatial resolution to lower spatial resolution, where we increase the temporal resolution step by steps. Stage 1 efficiently localize the respiratory motion in a video where we do not know where the video motion is happening. We call it uncontrolled motion in a video frames. Firstly, a pre-trained deep magnification model and amplifies the subtle respiratory motion to a detectable levels. This levels hidden oscillation without altering any types of temporal pattern. The Raft model, which we use for our optical model benchmark, computes. So we use a pre-trained Raft model to compute optical flow between 2 original and magnified frames. Then we generate 2D heat maps to find most location where we find the most breathing location. This is significantly reduces the number of pixels to work with in the subsequent tracking steps. Building on stage 1's candidate point, we upsample, in stage 2, we pinpoint the exact localization where the most breathing is happening. So for that, we two times upscale the selected regions, and then use RRPs to track these points in those localized regions. Then we apply extract respiratory waveform from the displacement pattern. We use compute power spectrum density to estimate the each point's signal quality index, and finally we rank these points based on their respiratory signal merits. This process further filter out the selected points and give us only those points that corresponds to most breathing in a video. And finally, we take these points for stage 3, where we upscale by 8 times each of the points to find this motion in more high resolution, and we use our same RPIPS model. So these are, like we said, our RPIPS model is capable of tracking multi-scale, so it can track 1 to 2 pixel with some type of certainty. Meanwhile, for higher resolution, it can track with higher certainty. So we use the same RPIPS model to track this upscale region for breathing patterns. So here's a demonstration of like how this RPixel sees in terms of like pixel, that how much breathing causes movement in the external clothing. So we apply L2 distance to measure the pixel or displacement. Then we apply bandpass filtering to find the respiratory regions, and finally we aggregate these points for a waveform per subject in a per point location. So these outputs actually provide a precise respiratory waveform that encodes the depth, timing, and other pathological signals. So in our case, we also developed RRPIPS. Like, it is a modified version of PIPS, that is an open source model for particle tracking. The PIPS++ model underperforms in case of oscillatory respiratory motion, because it's mostly developed for tracking one point to another in a long distance, but not particularly suited for this oscillatory motion. So our RPIPS model develops, takes the PIPS to a next stage by considering multimodal capabilities, multi-scale tracking, and efficient optimizations. So we experimented with multiple model setting, for example, full model setting, then partial model setting, and spatiotemporal processing of the videos to further enhance the necessity of all of our optical flow frames and RPIPS full fine-tuning. So we have validated our setting for three different data set, including our PIPS data set that is open source and would be linked in our final slides. So we establish a rigorous validation framework that contains two core components: the dataset annotation, where we use the semi-supervised setting to annotate data, different visualization scheme to check the validation scheme, and finally we also take stage substitution, model variants, and training strategies to comprehensively validate if we require all these components and what component plays what role in this setting.
1 minute left.
Yes. So RRPIPS achieves all the highest results for all of these considered benchmark in our setting. So we have considered all the rigorous benchmark that we encountered that can enable point tracking in a video setting. So we haven't found any point tracking setting in respiratory rate prior to our works. So our core finding is that architecture matters. We need raft and deep magnification to find that points for limited special operation. And finally, we need the training. Our training strategy to develop RPIPS also plays an important role. So our analysis reveals critical insight about this video-based waveform detection. We have selected RPIPS PIPS++ as a tap solution because there is other tap solution. PIPS++ actually allows us the most setting. So the idea is that our setting works best on different contexts. Finally, we have demonstrated that our RPIPS really works well, and it can provide a benchmark to monitor babies and elder adults in even uncontrolled situation where the person is not visible, only blanket movement we can do. So we acknowledge the funding of NSF and Army Research Lab on that. Here's some of the selected reference, and here's you can find all our codes there. The model weight should be there. If not, I will upload by today, and also Here's our link of the dataset. You can check the dataset. You can like ping me any question that might be helpful. Yeah, thank you. I'm not sure how long I took.
Thank you for your great presentation. Our next speaker is Deng Yiliu. Deng Yiliu, presenting polyp signet, enhanced polyp segmentation with attention gates and squeeze and excitation.
Hi everyone, I'm glad to be here. Okay. And our research is about polyp segmentation, enhanced polyp segmentation with attention gates and squeeze and excitation. My co-author is Dr. Mima, Dr. Julia Huafang, and Dr. Honggang Wang. Firstly, our today's roadmap is introduction, related works, methodology, experiment results, and qualitative analysis and ablation study. So, as we all know that colon cancer is still a severe disease in the worldwide. So, hence early stage polyp detection is very crucial. And we all know that the manually detect the polyp is kind of time consuming and sometimes it will cause some human error. So, and also there are some current challenges that different polyps have different color textures, and it's hard to, there's no like general size of polyp, and the classic convolutional neural networks is lack of focus on the regions, and sometimes it's hard to target on the boundaries. So that's why that's our proposal is that we introduce polyp segment, which combined with the attention mechanism and squeeze and the excitation blocks. I'll call it SC blocks later. And our model have lightweight. It's a lightweight model, and also it's very powerful and efficient. I would say overall our model is have the SOTA model combined with all the benchmark models we on our experiments. And here's some related works. Maybe we can quickly skip it. Like the UNet, we all know is a very foundational model on this segmentation field, and it already is like 10 years. It's already a very important foundation model for our benchmarks. And as time goes, some researchers use transformers to do this task. We use vision transformer as the vision encoder for the medical images, and also there are some models that are only used for the polyp detection, and there's some imaging directions like when there's no much label data, we may use future learning, meta learning, and sometimes people will use self-supervised learning to do this segmentation task. And also, I would say diffusion model is also very important direction on this segmentation field. And here comes the methodology. So overall, our model combines with the attention gaze and SC box. We will show the details later. And we compare with different benchmark models. And here is the, I don't know why it's that blurry, but here is the figure of our architecture. And technically, we combined the attention gaze in the skip connection, and we have our SC box for the decoder to make sure that we can get some feature, very important feature in the the images. And here's details about our attention gaze and SC box. Here's some details and the figures, and also the formula details of that. And here is our experiment details about the loss function, optimizer, and the learning rate schedule, and our activity functions. So we use three three different public data sets, like we can see here. And I would say overall we achieved SOTA results. And here we can go through all one by one. Like this is the first data set we trained, and we will say we get the bottom line is our polyp model, and the others are the other benchmark models. And here's for the second model, second dataset and the third dataset. And here goes to the qualitative analysis. And maybe we can just show the visualization result. So the first column is the polyp images. The second one is the ground truth mask. And third column is our model. And the others are just other benchmark models. So I would say it's intuitive that our model achieved is best compared with others in this figure. And so going to the ablation study, we try to see the incremental benefit of the data computation, attention gates, and the SC blocks. And here is the result for our ablation study. I would say, so it's kind of also very clear that every the attention gates and the SC blocks really works in our model. And yeah, discussion. So we have we build a very efficient and very great model compared with the attention gates and SC blocks. And in the future, we definitely want to make our model better and compare with some other techniques like a diffusion model. So I would say this paper was accepted several months ago. So actually, we already made some progress. Maybe in the future we can discuss that in other conference. And as I want to thank my co-author again. Thank you so much.
Thank you for your great presentation. So now let's welcome our next speaker presenting quantum contrastive learning for human activity recognition.
Okay, good. Good morning, everyone. Today I give a talk a quantum contrastive learning for human activity recognition. This is a joint work with Yanhui, Di, and Liling, Dr. Xuan Mao. Okay, first, this is all learn. We discuss motivation, solution, evaluation, and discussion and conclusion. So first, the motivation. Human activity recognition is very important for the smart home, smart healthcare, and motion detection. And current solution is we need to collect the label data, but this is trying to collect the large amount of the label data. So the solution is that we can use self-supervised learning and to address this issue with the limitation of the classical computation system. Okay, here, another one is for the classical contrastive learning, we know that is very good solution to learn the better encoder and from the unlabeled data set. And another one is that, but there are also the challenge is that for the contrastive learning is trying to train this encoder. So another solution is we need to consider the quantum machine learning. This solution is combine the quantum computing and machine learning and can use some the properties for the quantum states. Okay, let's first let's see the one results. We show the existing one that just proposed the quantum self-supervised learning, which just replacing the last layer of the encoder with quantum circuit. We can see, compared with the traditional clear CLR, we can see the proposed quantum self-supervised learning decrease this accuracy. So this is the motivation how to design the effective self quantum machine learning. Our solution is that we propose the new quantum machine learning and use the variational quantum circuit for the projection header instead of for the encoder for the last layer, and also verify this the performance. Okay, this is our framework, and which includes the 2 stages. The first stage is pre-training. We use the unlabeled data set to train you can see the first block is the traditionally different augmentation module, and for the traditional encoder part. And after that, we use the variational quantum circuit as a projection module instead of traditional one. And after that, after pre-training, we freezing like our encoder, and after that, we remove the projector part. And for the test stage, we use small label data set to fine-tune this freezing encoder for the supervised human activity recognition. Okay, on top of this architecture, let's see the important contribution that is the variational quantum circuit in the projection, this part. You can see this is the architecture, and first one, we need to consider the quantum projection header layer that include like encoding. We can use the different strategy to map the classical bits to the Q bits. And also, after that, also we have like parameterize the quantum circuit and to map that. And last one is just the measurement. You can see in our experiment, we used like an 8 qubit and with the amplitude encoding. And also for the network part, we used the rotation gate and also synod gates and use poly-Z measurement. And finally, our output is a vector with classic the data set. Okay, so on top of this new architecture, we validate with 6 human activity public data set. And also this is show our setup. And we consider 8 qubit because of the limit, the resource, and consider the depth of the VQC is 1, and also use the 1 library to train this model, and we also use F1 or accuracy to evaluate our performance. And the first results we show the compare with based on with the supervised learning and also traditional self-supervised learning, and also the quantum self-supervised learning. And we compare our QCL-HAR method with this. We can see if you see over all the 6 data set, our performance is better than existing one. And the second one also we show this confusion matrix for the data confusion matrix. That means compare with like our method and with self-supervised learning method. And we can see if, especially this green cell to represent to indicate the increase of number of sample correctly classified, and all the right one also to show the decreased performance. We can see there are more green cells. That means our performance can get the better accuracy compared with like the traditional self-supervised learning, the same CRL. And also we consider, because the main contribution is the projector design, we compare with different projector the head. And especially we consider without projector or the sim clear or our QCL-HAR method, we can see our method can get the better performance than others over also the 6 data set. Another thing is, we have the 2 stage and like pre-train and also test fine-tune. And for pre-train, we use unlabeled data set. We validate the different number of the unlabeled data set for the performance accuracy. We can see our method better than the like same CRL over the different amount of the pre-trained data set over 6 data public data set. And compare with the labeled data set, we can fix the unlabeled data set for training. We consider the fine-tuning on the labeled data set. Also, if we have the more labeled data set, definitely we can increase that accuracy for all the data set. And also this solution also can increase that accuracy compared with the sim clear. Another thing is, we need to understand that performance. Compare with the computer vision, the time sequence data from the MU wearable sensor. This is challenging to understand. So for this result, we show how to explain these results. If our some pattern similar with supervised learning, that means our feature extraction or our model design that is better and flexible. So you can see here we compare with different this activity with our this data, and also to show that feature for the fully supervised and our proposed method. You can see we can get the similar pattern and for the different data set. That means our feature extraction is better and similar with supervised solution. And another thing is also, what's the motivation we need to use quantum machine learning instead of traditional machine learning? So first one is if we have more quantum bits, qubits, that definitely can speed up the training of the fine-tuning. Also, we can use smaller parameter. You can see we not only increase that accuracy of SimClear, also we can reduce the number of parameter and also the training time and inference time. And also other discussion, we also consider, you can see the different composition of the quantum projection header strategies on the motion sense data set. And the left part is to show that different project the schemes. And also include original one, a traditional one, or we can integrate the traditional linear layer or the quantum layer. And also we consider different encoding for the quantum part. And also here is also we discussed the compare with hybrid classical or quantum machine learning and also pair with the quantum projector. And we'll see that results. You can see the blue, this one, this show our results still is get better performance than others for F1 score.
1 minute left.
Okay. So another thing is also discuss different depths for the variational quantum circuit network. We can see why we choose just one layer, because we can see even though we increase the number of the depths, the performance maintain the same. And all other things also we consider robustness on top of this different measurement error. Because if we use that Nyquist error quantum computer, and it has some errors. And if we include that, also our performance maintain the same performance and accuracy. Also, other things like a micro benchmark performance, like a batch size iteration, you can see this show here. Okay, let's summarize this work. So this is first work to propose new quantum contrasted learning framework to mitigate issue of insufficient label sensor data. And also we designed a new variational quantum circuit to serve the project header of the contract learning framework and mitigate the classical hardware bottleneck. And also we introduced some quantum technology and extract of key feature that are more conducive to the downstream task. Also our result validates the performance. Thank you.
Great. Thank you for your great presentation. So last but not least, our last presentation is from Yuxuan, presenting personalized eating detection from wrist motion.
Okay, cool. Thank you. Hello, my name is Yuxuan. I'm a PhD student from the Department of Electrical and Computer Engineering at Clemson University. And I'm very excited to present our research on the eating detection by tracking wrist motions, and hope this presentation will not make you feel more hungry because it's about eating. So yeah, so while our previous study have focused on the previous study has focused on the learning eating patterns from a group of data. We take a step further by exploring the personalized model, which adapts to the unique eating behaviors for each individuals like you, my advisor, Takura, or me. So as you know, eating is one of the most common daily activities. However, improper eating behaviors could lead to a range of health issues. For example, the obesity, type 2 diabetes, or heart disease. Actually, in fact, according to the CDC, in the United States, more than 40% adults are classified as obese, and about 1 in 5 death is also is associated with with poor diet or cardiovascular conditions. So by monitoring eating behaviors can support both the prevention and treatment of these chronic disease. So as scientists, the first question arises is how could we measure eating behaviors? So traditionally, people manually report their meals by logging each one, but that process is very burdensome. So we are exploring automatic tools to detect eating behaviors, for example, the meal duration or the energy intakes by tracking wrist motions. So here we are trying to detect wrist motions, and to study the meal duration, we use the eating episodes as a measurement here, and as shown in the clock, there are 2 episodes during the day, and the right figure shows a simple example how we connect wrist motion to the eating behaviors. Imagine you are gonna eat an apple, you will first move your wrist to the apple, then you rotate the wrist to your face and lift it to your mouth simultaneously. And to track the wrist motion, we use the sensors, IMU sensors in the smartwatch. As shown in the right figures, the first 3 axes are acceleration of the wrist from the accelerometer, and the last 3 axes are angular velocity from the gyroscope. And here is the model we use to track to identify eating behaviors. We use a window-based classifier, and you can as we got the sensor data from the wrist motion, we slide windows on the sensor data, and the neural network classifier would predict the probability of eating for each time steps. And once we got the sequence of probability of eating, we use 2 thresholds to identify the eating episode, a higher threshold to identify the start, and a lower threshold to identify the end. We first use the neural network to train it on a group of data and use this as a baseline. The architecture of the neural network is shown in the left. Because of time limits, I will not go into details. And we train the model on group data. We use the Clemson all-day data set, which includes data from 351 people, and it contains like 1 day recording from each. And here are some results we obtained from the group model. So here is a 1 day result for one project. And you can see the x-axis is the time in minutes. It's about like 12 hours. And the y-axis is the probability of eating. The green box on the bottom shows the episodes the participants report, and the red box shows the episodes detected by our classifier. And you can see that although there are some delays in each detection, in general, this classifier worked pretty good for that subject. Unfortunately, it's not always that case. And I will show some more examples here. So for the subject 2, the actually, the classifier completely fails in detecting all the meals. And for the subject 3, though the classifier detects the episode successfully, but there are too many false detections. And all these are not good performance for those subjects. And these are 3 typical cases we can obtain, we observed from the performance of group model. And it motivates our further research. Could we find a way to improve the model performance for each individuals? I.e., could we do some personalized eating detection? We have 2 proposals to solve that in this study. The first one is, could we just identify the episodes more accurately by just learning per individual? So previously we have the group model is trained on group data. And could we just use the still same neural network architecture, but just trained on the individual? Would it significantly improve the performance? To test that, we collected a new pilot data set, the Clemson multi-day data set. It includes 9 participants, and for each participant, we collect about from 9 to 21 days of data with an average of 13 days of recordings. Another hypothesis is, could we get better, so the group model is valuable. So could we get better performance by combining the learning from both the group and individual? To do that, we use transfer learning to achieve that. So we first pre-train a group model on the group data, and then we do the transfer learning. We first still keep the features extracted from the group data. Then we retrain the decoding part, which related the features to the personalized eating behaviors. Then finally, we unfreeze all the weights and fine tune. And to evaluate our performance, model performance, we use 2 metrics. One is time step based, one is episode based. So for the time step based, here is the animation shows an example how we classify the true positive, false negative, and false positive based on each time step. And for this animation shows how we also do the classification of the predicted episodes.
1 minute left. Please
Okay,
wrap up.
so here is the general result. It's the average result, and it shows that the hybrid model performs better than the individual model, than the group model in general. And we can zoom into the individual performance, and you can see that for 3 of them, the hybrid or individual model perform greatly improvement, and also for the episode metrics, we can see the similar results. And also we curse about the false alarms frequencies, and it shows that the hybrid or individual model can also obviously decrease the false alarms detected. So in conclusion, the personalized eating detection can work good to improve the accuracy and reduce false alarm frequency. But actually, there's variation among individuals as benefit to group model, individual model, hybrid model. So it gives an opportunity to customize each model as required by each person. Okay, so we are now collecting more data from 30 people to have a better validation. And thank you. I know it's the last talk before the lunch, so enjoy the meal and hope you may pay a little bit more attention to the eating behaviors, and hope it will help you get a little bit healthier. Thank you.